Hello, this is Mr. Whistler at Carson Middle School on March 8th, 2011. And I'm making a podcast on the Great Depression. This is my first podcast, so bear with me and we'll see how it goes. The Great Depression. The Great Depression began in 1929 with the stock market crash. The stock market is an organized system for people to invest their money. The money people invest in the stock market goes up and down in value, but over time it goes up, which increases the amount of money you have. It's kind of like riding a bike up a gradual incline. There are a lot of ups and downs, but eventually you reach a much higher place. And you can see that when your money starts down in the lowest spot, you go down and you go up and you go down, you go up, and your downs over here are higher than your ups down on the other end. And finally, over many years, your money starts to grow and you have a lot of money over a long period of time. In October of 1929, the stock market crashed and many people lost their life savings. Crash. Billions lost as stocks crash. The crash shook people's confidence in the economy, but it did not cause the depression. It just marked the beginning of the depression. In the months before the crash, industries began to decline. Construction, automobiles, and banking began to slow down, and workers lost their jobs. Construction, slowing down, construction worker not working. The automobile industry, people are working here, but as people stopped buying cars, they didn't need as many workers. And people lost their jobs, stood in line looking for jobs. With no work, people couldn't buy as much. As more and more people lost their jobs, people bought even less. Thousands of companies went out of business. Millions of people lost their jobs. People standing in line looking for a job. And as time went by, more and more people looking for jobs. It was a terrible time in our country's history. Eventually, the unemployment rate went from 9% to 25%. 1 out of every 4 people did not have a job. So many people kept looking for jobs that they made billboards letting people know there were no jobs. Long lines of hungry people waited for a slice of bread, a cup of coffee, or a bowl of soup. People in line waiting for food. In 1932, 200,000 people, 25,000 families roamed the country looking for food, shelter, and jobs. This is a picture of a community of huts and tents that people who lost their homes built to survive. These were called Hoovervilles, named after the President Hoover, who they didn't feel like was doing enough to help the people out. Homeless people living in a tent, mother, 2 kids, a homeless man sleeping on a bench. Parents had kids hold up their signs to try to get people to give them a job. There just weren't any jobs. It didn't matter what they did. Banking is also a very important industry for any economy. Banks take the money you deposit and invest it by loaning it to people to create businesses. People that use money in their businesses to help their businesses grow, which creates goods and services and jobs for people. When the people stop putting money in the bank, or worse, take all their money out of the bank, it slows the wheels of industry and the economy. During the Great Depression, 9,000 banks failed, taking people's money with them. 9 million savings accounts were wiped out, and 86,000 businesses failed. In 1932, Franklin D. Roosevelt was elected president. Roosevelt proposed the New Deal. This was a set of laws that were designed to help the country, to help the economy. This is a cartoon which shows FDR. Congress is the maid, FDR is the doctor, and that's a bag of remedies for the economy. All these bottles or potions are different programs that FDR proposed to try to help. And he says up here, if these remedies don't work, we'll try some new ones. One of the New Deal programs created by FDR was the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the FDIC. This gave banks the ability to insure the money people deposited so people would not lose their money if the bank failed. It's just like car insurance. If you get in a wreck in your car, the insurance company pays for your car. Well, this was bank insurance. If the bank failed, the insurance company would give you your money. Started in 1933. Squirrel says, but why didn't you save some money for the future when times were good, like squirrels save nuts? Well, the man says, I did. Victim of bank failure. FDR thought the first thing he needed to do was restore confidence in the banks, so people would stop taking their money out of the bank and begin putting it back in. The president decided to communicate with the American people over the radio to try to reassure them that it was safer to keep their money in a reopened bank than under their mattress. These radio broadcasts by the president became known as fireside chats. Now, these fireside chats helped build the confidence, build the people's confidence in the president. And after his first fireside chat about the banks, people actually started putting money in the bank. More people started putting money in the bank than taking it out. All right, here are some questions that you can answer from the podcast. And I'm going to put this in MP4 format so you guys can download this to your iPods and do this individually. You can rewind it and pause it and find the answers to these questions. Number 1, when did the stock market crash? Number 2, in the months before the crash, what were 3 industries that declined to cause the people to lose their jobs? Now keep in mind, these weren't the only industries that declined. These were just 3 examples. How high did the unemployment rate get? 4, in 1932, how many people roamed the country looking for food, shelter, and jobs? Number 5, what do banks do with the money you deposit? 6, how many banks closed during the Great Depression? 7, how many businesses failed? 8, what was the New Deal? And 9, how did the president try to reassure the American people? And that's the end of the podcast, and thanks for listening.